With all of this power now coalescing together, even with this thing not being as efficient as I would like it to be, we're generating over 1 million a tick. So you know that feeling that you get when you realize that you massively overcomplicated something because you lacked some information that you should have known that would have made it a whole lot easier? This is what I have done here. Hello everybody, welcome back to some more Oceanblock. And if you remember last video, I had set up the sodium to be cooled and all that, and I also set up the fissile fuel thing off screen because I had already done it many times on the channel. I set up another dynamic tank right here because I had actually found out that these things actually can hold gases. So when I was converting this into fluid, it actually was kind of redundant, and in fact, inefficient. Because for some reason, even though there's no indicator on this, when you put fluid in here rather than gas, it actually holds less, versus how here it says it holds 2 billion millibuckets, it changes to 43 million for fluids. Logically, that makes sense. But I'm surprised that this actually went as far as to make it like realistic to where gas would take up more or less space in here. So yeah, I kind of dumbed out on that. I really didn't need to make all of that at all, and honestly, but you know what? Hey, at least I know now, and we are not anywhere close to how much sodium we're gonna need. We have exceeded how much it would take to fill up the size of the reactor that we wanted with the fissile fuel though, so I mean, that's good. But for this, it's a little bit more tricky. In much better news, I have managed to get the Draconic core up to tier 8. So now this thing can hold 9 quintillion OP. Seriously, look at this thing down here. This thing won't be filled for over 100,000 years and over 100 days. God. You might have noticed this building. Well, in here, we have a very special surprise. Look at him! Oh my goodness, I found myself a new pet. You all know I like to get pets on this channel for every series. I just hadn't figured out which one I wanted for this one. I got a turtle. Especially since this is Oceanblock. Yeah, this makes sense. So, yep, right here, we have ourselves Herbert the turtle. Oh my goodness. So, even though we don't have enough to fill out the reactor, I still do want to build it today. Just so that way we can get it. Because, I mean, this should be more than enough for the operational thing. So, I mean, even though it won't fill it out, we should be okay. But even if we're not, I will have a failsafe intact just in case. So, I've kept this a secret for so long. But as the title of this video probably says, even if it doesn't, depending on if I, like, change it or whatever, we are not just going to be building any reactor. We're building the max-sized reactor. Oh gosh, this is gonna be complicated. So, because that would be so complicated, I have instead taken the liberty to do a cheese strat and then build it in a creative world and then get myself some templates for my copy-paste gadget. So then, let us go ahead and see right here. This is close, but we want this thing to be inside the square. Each of these squares will fit the thing that I'm looking for perfectly. So let's go ahead and then mess with the GUI a little bit. Okay, going down that way, and then we want that one to go about that way. And this should fit the square. It does. Now, I have all of the materials inside of this infinity backpack, but I don't know if they'll all be able to paste from there. Let's try it. Oh, it does indeed work! Heck yeah! So, I'm gonna need to be brief about this because it takes power to use this thing. If I look in here, it has used up all the reactor stuff. Very, very good. So now when we open this thing up, yeah! Oh my goodness. And I actually discovered something about this thing. So I heard a lot of people when I was looking into this reactor saying that the bottoms and the tops had to be made out of the reactor casings. That's not actually true. It just needs to be the corners of these things. As long as all of the corners of this are made out of the reactor casing, it's fine. But all the walls and stuff like that, completely glass. And it still works. Oh my goodness, it's beautiful. So next up, we actually have a new thing in all this, because I haven't ever done this before. We have ourselves something called the boiler. So when we copy paste that into the world, there we go, it is all assembled. So why we need this boiler is because since I'm using sodium coolant, this isn't going to make steam, it's actually going to make something called heated sodium. We then pump the heated sodium into here, and then that is what will make the thing. Oh no. Oh no, I have this the wrong side. Alright, so I fixed all the issues that I had. Just needed to move around some of these ports here, but you know what? This is fine. So now that we've gotten that one built, we can now get ourselves the final one, and we are going to want to make sure that this one is right. It should be like right here. Okay, lock it. Okay, there we go. I think we got this one right. So then let's go ahead and then paste this bad boy really quickly, and oh, the blades are non-existent. That's odd. I mean, I have all the blades I need. It's just, it didn't make them. Okay, well then, let's just head on into here, and, we can go ahead and put all these in. Okay, once this thing is finished, it should look something like this. Yeah, there we go. It looks actually really sick, and I really like that. Now, I have a concern because a lot of these items have remained in here despite the fact that I have ended up putting them in there. So it's making me think that I may have discovered a duplication glitch. And I am not sure how okay with that I am. But with this, we now have the turbine completed. Oh my goodness, yes. So if we look in here, the max production we can get out of this is 44.15 million FE. Okay, that's good. The vents are a little limiting, which I don't really have the full expertise of this to explain that. So, like, if you want full explanation on that, you need to go and find some of that yourself. But, yeah, there we go. Now we got all of this working. So now, we're just going to need to start setting some of the things up. First and foremost, let's go ahead and then make ourselves a flux plug, so that way we can put that thing on the end of the turbine. So that way it will get the power to the thing. And then next, we're going to want to connect both the fissile fuel and the sodium inside of one of these quantum entangloporters. Alrighty, I should have everything piped up correctly, and I also set up my normal fail-safe system, which I have right here, which basically whenever it meets one of these conditions, being high temperature, access waste, or damage critical, it'll send a signal right over to here, which will deactivate this reactor, just in case this does go wrong. So, you know, that's the reason why we have fail-safes. So right here is going to be where the nuclear waste is going to go, because we don't really have a use for it at this time, because rather than actually using this for waste, we are using this for power. It looks like everything is in order, so then let's go ahead and then try bumping this up to say, actually, is it going into any of these other things? They aren't. They aren't. So it's not burning enough to produce the heated sodium. Okay then, so... Oh wait, no, it's not boiling... It's not burning 1 millibucket a tick, it's boiling 0.1 millibucket. Okay then, so let's try and increase that to 1, and maybe now it will start working. Okay, yes, it is boiling now. Okay, so things are going in, and they're also then going back out. Okay, so what I wanted to show you all was how this actually is going to work. So right here, we have sodium going in from here, but we also actually have it going back in from over here, because when this thing produces, it makes both steam and the normal coolant, which we can then recycle back over to here, which is why we have both of these things going on. So once this thing is actually full and at a stable level, we can actually disconnect the sodium system entirely and, like, focus on other things. So it's actually really sick. And the same goes for the turbine that we have right over here, where we'll actually also produce the water that we are going to need and then send that also right back over to here with the mix of our max upgraded aqueous accumulators over here. So yeah, all that is going really good, and it appears it is generating 79,000 FE. That is good, but we want it to be better. So let's go back and check this again, and I'm going to tweak it a little bit and see what I can do.
5 minutes later.
So I've gone over this thing a little bit. I put this thing up to 10 millibuckets a tick. So it is now generating about 800 KFE, which is good. So then let's go ahead and then turn this thing on to something simple, so that way the power will now start going out over to there. Why is it not taking it? Right, because I needed it to be on something complex, because that's the one that goes into the main generators. I completely forgot about that. Okay then, so now if we go over to the battery, it should be getting all that stuff in. Yes, and now rather than it being only 100,000 years away for us to fill this thing up, it is only about 17,000 years away. Oh my gosh, we are never going to fill this thing out, man. It's never gonna happen. But I mean, yeah, I mean, with all of this power now coalescing together, even with this thing not being as efficient as I would like it to be, we're generating over 1 million a tick, which is really good. Here we go. Now we've got ourselves all the max things out, and then whenever I need to start making like polonium and plutonium and all that, I will have the nuclear waste right over here. You know, in all honesty, I was actually quite surprised when I was actually looking into this, because I had this idea for so long to where like you were pumping the stuff out and then actually tried pumping it back in just to keep the cool and steady. And then when I actually started looking into like how the maximum reactors would work, like the dimensions and all that, to my surprise, turns out this is actually what you're supposed to do. So once that reactor is full of the sodium and I will no longer need to generate it, I will be able to then disconnect this thing, and then we can actually use the brine for a much better source, but that's gonna be a surprise for a later date. Although I do still kind of need it for the chlorine, because I've actually set up a system to where I'm mixing chlorine with hydrogen to make the hydrogen chlorine, so that way I can actually better process my ores, because I've actually set up a whole thing right here, which makes it a lot more efficient, which is also partially due to why I have so much of the uranium going on, which is kind of the one material I'm going to be most concerned about. Okay, so now that we've gotten all that out of the way, there's one more thing that I wanted to do, and that's going to be to make myself, if I can, the Draconic Staff of Power. Now, the reason why I want to do this is very simple. I didn't get any objectives done today. We need to get ourselves some objectives done today. So we're going to go ahead and then make this thing right here. So first we are going to need to make 3 Wyvern level weapons and then upgrade them to Draconic level weapons. Those things are the Wyvern pickaxe, the Wyvern sword, and the Wyvern shovel. And all of them have the same recipe with the exception of the central thing, which is placed out for the initial thing. So how I'm going to do this is I'm going to have all these things in their stack modes like this. I've actually found out how to kind of automate these things when I need to make more than stack them. I just have hoppers behind these things and have them all in stack mode. So it's very, very, very nifty. So then we can go ahead and then just place these things all on their own individual things. And what do you mean no valid recipe? Yep, I'm stupid. I forgot that I also need the draconium ingots. There we go. So now it's working. Yes, and I actually have this thing right here, which is a sequencer, which every so often it will play a redstone signal. And when that happens and there's a valid recipe in here, it'll set it to start crafting. So then once this thing is all done, we'll have the Draconic Sword, which will then get sent down in here. And conveniently, this thing was actually already on the correct loop for this thing. So we're already getting the next recipe going. Alrighty, next up, we're gonna need to start making ourselves the Draconium weapons. So once this thing is ready, that's peculiar. Why is this thing not being registered? It's not registering that the Wyvern core is there. Okay, now it's working. What? Why wasn't this one working? Okay, wait a minute. I might need to break this one and then place it down again because that is weird. That is really weird. Okay, but there we go. Now we've got ourselves the Draconic Sword. So now we just need to wait for the rest of these things. You all know how it goes. Alrighty, it is the moment of truth. So let's put the weapons in right over here, then we can put the core right over there, and then we can go ahead and then just start putting in all of the awakened ingots. This is actually another reason why I wanted to make the reactors, because of how much power this actually is going to take. And yet, once we get to the crafting point, it is going to be way, way quicker. So now, here it is, the Draconic Staff of Power. Oh my gosh, look at me. I wield the power of the staff within my hands. Oh my gosh, this is going to be really sick. So this thing, like all other Draconium tools, can be upgraded with other things. You know, like I've upgraded my bow and my armor. So once I start upgrading this thing, it's going to become a really big powerhouse. Right now, it has an attack damage at its base of 15. That's pretty good. And it's not terribly slow. So, like, once I actually start upgrading this thing, it could potentially surpass my fully upgraded Insanium sword, or be completely on par with it. I don't know, but we're going to have to find out at another date. So let's go ahead and then mark off all the rewards that we have just gotten. Ooh! We got Elementium seeds. That is not terrible, actually. I mean, I'm gonna need those for something eventually anyways, I'm pretty sure. But I mean, until then, I mean, hey, you know, at least we got them right now. That's actually really good. And then we also got some mystical petals and all that. Yeah, we got a lot of Botania stuff. I mean, I actually did discover that I am going to need to do Botania soon, but that will be for another day. So, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out my last Oceanblock video. Bye-bye!